Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cozy Corner Chronicles. My name is Julia,
And I'm Liz.
and we are back with another SparkNotes but better segment for My Sister, the Serial Killer. Woo woo.
Woo woo. So this story is by an author named Oyinkan Braithwaite. And I remember Julia and I were kind of going back and forth between how we were going to conclude Black History Month. And so we were in between The Hate You Give and My Sister, the Serial Killer. So this is kind of how we ended. And this will be the last Spark Notes but better for the month of February.
Yep, and I feel like this book definitely was an interesting read to say the least.
Yeah, it kind of took me like on a roller coaster. I feel like I struggled following the storyline a little bit.
I agree, and I can't tell if it was because the chapters were so short that it didn't
Mhm.
really give you any description. It kind of just was straight to the point of what was happening in each chapter, which I think to some people that's really great because you can
Mhm.
just cut out the side dishes and just go straight for the meat and potatoes. But I think
Right.
for us, it's a little confusing to follow along with.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I feel like this story, like how I would rate character development is the Heaven and Earth grocery store gave us everything and more. I mean, we probably could know like what color underwear they were wearing.
Yeah.
And then the Hate You Give gave us like the perfect amount. And
Hmm.
then this one gave us like barely.
Yeah, like zero.
Yeah. So it was kind of like a nice little,
Right.
it.
And I'm wondering if there is like purpose in that. Like, I'm wondering if the
Mhm.
author wanted you to almost feel like you weren't given enough so that you could be more captivated. But I don't know. There's like, honestly, for me, I don't think I liked a single character except for one. Yeah, like
Okay.
one.
We'll talk about that because I'm curious to see what character you liked because I
Yeah,
feel like we may have the same character that we
probably.
like. So this story opens up with a nurse, and her name is Cora Day. And she's Nigerian. She works in a hospital in Lagos, and she's like super organized. And I wouldn't classify it as OCD, but she seems very clean, very just
Mhm.
like methodical. Let's say it that way. And she has a sister. Her name is Iola, and they are just complete opposites. Iola is, I mean, I'm not going to say that Cora Day wasn't beautiful, but she is described as like excessively beautiful.
Mhm.
And like men worship her, and she just lives every day just carefree, lives day to day, like no worries at all. She lives so carefree. As where Cora Day is like, this has to happen, this has to happen, this happens on Monday, this happens on Tuesday, like,
Mhm.
things like that. So I already, again, not knowing the characters fully, I'm like, I don't really resonate. I don't
Right.
resonate with any of the characters.
Mhm.
So that was a little tricky for me.
I agree. I felt like none of the characters also resonate. And like, I'm a nurse, right?
Hmm.
If anyone's gonna maybe resonate, it's gonna be Corday, but I
Hey,
don't
you're
know.
not you're not cleaning up dead bodies, right?
Yeah, like I'm not cleaning up dead bodies from my sister stabbing somebody and with the knife that our father gave, or I guess that she stole from our father. So can't relate, but
Yeah, so funny you say that. The novel opens with Iola's third victim, and it is a guy named Femi. And she's like calling Corday, and she's like, I did it again. It happened again. I don't know what to do. And this, I wish there was more build up to who she had killed prior. I mean, we get a little bit of that towards the end, like kind of like who these people were, but there was just no like I didn't feel bad that Femi died.
yeah, I kind of agree. Like you just hear or read that he
Like
is
was a good
dead.
person. Yeah, like he
Yeah,
was a good person and all this stuff, but like I don't feel bad for him because I'm like, oh well, I have no emotional tie to him.
right. And I think they describe like the reason that she killed him was because he tried to attack her. He like got mad at her or something, is how she plays it. But I don't know if I really believe Viola.
Yeah, so she says, right?
Hmm.
And she kills Femi with this knife that Iola took from their dead abusive father. And Yeah, she just stabs him in the back. Like, and then Corday's like putting it together. Well, like, if he was attacking you, how did you stab him in the back?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Coraday's instant reaction is not, "Oh my god, like my sister killed someone." It's, "Okay, I'm going to grab the bleach. I'm going to grab all these supplies to go help you clean it up. We're going to have to dispose of the body. We're going to have to get into the car. We're going to make sure no one sees us." I'm
Yeah. And
like I said, mm-mm.
I just think that was more of the like familial part of it.
Yeah,
I think the author does a really good job of doing that. Like, who am I going to protect? My family or somebody else, you know?
right.
And I feel like she did a really good job depicting this big sister taking care of her little sister, whether no matter what it was. And I know we made jokes with each other, like if my brother or sister did
Mhm.
this, you get turned into the police today,
Mhm.
yesterday.
Literally.
Yeah. So whereas Cora Day, she's like, no, like I'm gonna go get the bleach. I'm gonna accidentally get caught by the HEB receipt. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna do all this stuff for you and help you clean up this mess.
Yeah, and I think going off of like familial stuff, definitely like out of everyone in the book, Ayola is definitely the most babied. Like not only by Corday but also by their mom.
Oh my
And
god,
I know,
yes.
I think me and you kind of had the side conversation about this, but the mom was just so overprotective of Viola for no reason. It was like, "Miss Ma'am, your older daughter is doing everything in her power to help this girl out, and you find a reason to blame her for everything."
Yeah, and let's just talk about how she was literally a freaking enabler. She
Yes.
why? And then like it's so I don't want to say classic because I mean it doesn't happen to everybody, but like since she's younger, she's just automatically like the prized possession. The
Right.
like just everything about her, everything has to be about her. The world
Mhm.
revolves around her. If Coronet's not doing something for her, she's not doing anything right.
Right. And then even down to the fact that like when Corday did something and clearly it wasn't Iola, her mom was like, "Oh no, but no, like Iola did that." Like,
Yeah,
girl, no.
literally. And so Corday works with this doctor. His name is Tade. And she like has this huge crush on him. And like at one point I think she was like, "Oh my god, he's noticing me. Like
Mhm.
he sees me for who I am. Like he's getting to know me. Like we're doing all these things, whatever, blah 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 blah." And of course, who comes to ruin it? Iola. Like she literally Corday said, "Please never come to my job." What does Iola do? Show up to her job. And
Literally.
what, of course, catches the attention of Tade. And Corday kind of already knew that this would have happened at some point, but like, boundaries?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of just annoying because Iola definitely knew. Like she made the comment when Corday was like, "Hey, I don't want you coming to work. Hey, stop talking to him." She definitely knew that Corday had a crush on him and she still pursued him and was selfish and all that stuff. I don't know. It just
Yeah.
that made me really mad.
And then Corday's like, "Hey, Tade, like, I'm just letting you know she is dangerous." Like, doesn't
Mhm.
say anything about her killing anybody, but she's like, "She's dangerous. She's dangerous." And Tade's like, "No." And he's just like so infatuated with her because she's beautiful and like all these things, just something that he's never had. So Corday, she starts confiding in this man named Mutar. And Mutar is he was in a really bad traffic accident that ended up having him in a coma.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Oh, you know, he can't hear me, he's in a coma." Like starts like just
Spilling the tea.
yeah.
Like spilling the tea. Like he even told I mean she even told Motar that, "Hey, my sister like killed this guy."
And then even told him like she's killed three guys, like
Mhm.
all this stuff. And just like, you know, obviously she's not thinking like he's gonna wake up and like
Mhm.
all this stuff. So I'm just like, tricky with that one. But okay, I see where you're going. And Corday's like, Iola is doing all these things, killing these men, like all this stuff, but she's not showing any remorse.
Yes, at
And
all.
yes, and like she even after she killed Femi, she like wanted to post on Snapchat, wanted to post on
Yes.
Instagram, like all this stuff. And Corday's like, you're supposed to be mourning. And she's just like, "Oh, so when will I be able to post?"
Like, girl, that's your main concern?
That really that took me over the edge just a little bit.
I agree. And honestly speaking, the progression of the story, now that I've read it, doesn't like, I felt like there was, I don't want to say no substance, but it just felt very rushed, I guess, because
Hmm.
like we said, we start off the book with the fact that you find out Iola's on her third victim, right? And then you have Corday, you introduce them. Then it progresses to Iola dating, oh sorry, yeah, Iola dating the doctor now. And then from there it's like boom, all of a sudden we go to the end where she gets stabbed because she tries to stab the doctor.
Can we talk about how she cheated on this man first
I
before
know, with
that?
that married guy.
What are you doing? And then kills him.
Yeah, when they went to on that really expensive trip abroad in
Yeah.
Dubai, right? Or something.
Yes. Literally killed him with I don't know what, but ended up saying like it was like a drug overdose or whatever, and she got away with that.
Yeah, like purely got away. Like there was not even a police investigation, or at least from Corday's point of view, it was like the police had let her go. Like
Literally.
how do you swing that? How many men can you say attacked you before it's like
Yeah.
something is not adding up?
And then leading up to what you said, her being stabbed, Corday kind of tried to warn Tade before like all of this stuff because Tade was going to propose
Hmm.
to Iola. He had like a diamond ring like ready for a whole for everything, just ready to propose. And he even told Corday like, "Oh, I know about the man. I know about X Y." That's what you want?
I know, like dang, you just really want to marry her for what reason? To get killed?
Yes, and then what happened after what you said was pretty much like she was going to try to kill Tade, and then boom, she gets stabbed.
Yep. And then at that point, I was like, okay, karma. But then, of course, she's in the hospital and she's like, still no remorse. And then what happens when the police questioned her? She literally didn't even bat an eyelash. She was like, oh, yeah, Tade tried to freaking stab me. And yeah. And then you're like,
and
uh,
then and then Tade ends up getting freaking arrested and goes to prison and gets
yep.
his medical license revoked.
Yep. And what's crazy to me is yes, like the theme that you had said earlier is do you protect your loved one, like your family, or do you protect the man that you love? Because at one point,
Mhm.
Corday is like, oh, like I love this man.
Yeah.
And to me, it goes beyond that in this book. It's like, should you be doing the right thing or should you be doing the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Because clearly Tade was innocent and she knew that, but she even like threatened him at the end and was like, if you say that she tried to stab you,
It's two
it's like
against
our,
one.
yeah. And it's like, Miss Ma'am, you're letting your sister, the serial killer, on the loose to do more
Yeah.
of this shit when the man you love and someone who was innocent taking care of people's lives is now in prison.
Literally. And I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a minute. Can we say that maybe she did it because it was something that she was used to doing?
Maybe I can see that, but at the end of the day, if she truly loved that man and it was the right thing to do,
Or even if she was just a good person? How about that?
yeah. And yeah, like you can't really convince me that enough brainwashing will, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could convince me that some brainwashing could do that,
Yeah.
but she like, I guess like to me, she knew it was wrong because she went through the steps to warn Tade about it already.
Right,
And then
right.
when it actually came to push come to shove, when, you know, she was actually put into the situation, she just turned her back on him.
And I definitely agree with you. I feel like that's kind of what made it like I'm not going to say a hard read. It wasn't hard to get through the book, but it like I was saying earlier, the storyline was so hard to follow with those things like everything just happening so fast and
Mhm.
just no development between the characters and just the events that happened in between because I at one point they even tried to throw in the story with their dad and their mom and I
Yes,
just felt like it was so out of place.
I agree because I think the only really big significant thing that we got from that was you learned that dad was abusive. dad was abusive, especially towards Iola. And
Mhm.
then that's how Iola got the knife that she now uses to stab men, which
Mhm.
motive, right? But that's kind of all those chapters really served a purpose for. And you know what? Maybe that did its job then. Maybe, we just don't understand how literature works. But in my opinion, I agree. It felt very rushed and like kind of out of place instead of having a few
Mhm.
chapters that go over their backstory. It's like
Mhm.
you get one in the beginning, then you get one at like chapter what, like 30 or however many
Mhm.
chapters there are.
And I feel like they could have done a better job maybe correlating the two, like
Hmm.
correlating why she was doing those things, maybe why she doesn't like male figures who X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't think we got enough backstory on the dad. Like, they could have even tied, like, oh, Femi was so much like our dad to where Iola was so upset, boom, stabbed him. Like, there was just like no
Yeah.
connections, and
Like
I
for
don't know.
correlation, they were scatter plot. They weren't
Hmm.
linear. I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to say that this was a bad read,
Yeah,
but
agreed.
it just wasn't my cup of tea. And I know we had talked
Agreed.
about earlier, it wasn't your cup of tea either. I think this is a book where you guys are going to have to judge for yourself on how you
Hmm.
feel about the book, because again, I mean, your guys' interests may not be the same as ours. So,
Yeah, and it's definitely a different read. Like
mhm.
it's not a hard read at all. It's very, very short. Like this is definitely one of the shortest books we'll probably ever read on the podcast. But it's written in a way because I forgot if we mentioned this in our Judge a Book by its cover, but the author is a poetry writer. Like that's also what she
Mhm.
does. So the chapters really almost seem like it's written like poetry as
Yeah,
in
it's
the length of
poetic.
it, right?
Mhm.
Like it's just so short. So
Mhm.
maybe that was the whole purpose of it and we just missed it, like it flew over our heads.
Yeah, and I
But
was thinking that too because each chapter is named uh based upon something. I mean, obviously in books like sometimes the chapters are named based on what happens in the story, but they were
right.
just one word that
Yeah.
usually correlated with something that was happening. So it gave very much
Yeah.
poetry-ish vibes, and maybe that's where the lack was in terms of story building.
Right. And you're right because in poetry I feel like a lot of it is you fill in the blanks. Like
Mhm.
you interpret what the poem's about. But I
Mhm.
will say, I mean, with how short of a book it was, she did do a good job of just giving us a story start to finish. Like I didn't feel like I've left like anything was hanging.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
definitely felt like I got all the information that I needed for it to be classified as a story.
Right, I definitely agree with you. So, yeah, I mean, that really ends this SparkNotes but better because the story just ends. Like
Yeah,
yeah, there
like
was nothing more. It went, Tade went to prison and that was pretty much it.
yep.
Oh, she meets at the end. They're sitting in the living room and Iola brings a new lover, and that's how the story ends. So,
So
yeah.
another infuriating day of serial killing.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing more,
like
nothing less.
exactly. Like there's not much left to say about it because it was just such a straightforward
Yeah, it
book.
really was. Hmm.
Right. But you know what? We have many other things coming up. So if none of these books this month were your cup of tea and we have stuff that's coming up or you want us to read things, please always feel free to tell us, reach out to us because like we said, we're more than willing to read anything that you guys want, especially if you guys want to follow along with our podcast. So,
Yeah, and we have, like we told you, we have some exciting stuff coming up. Stay tuned for our chapter chats for the fake out. That's going pretty well. So
yeah.
I'm to the part where I'm just like, so
Yeah. Agreed. So, I mean, I'm excited to talk about other books that we keep reading, so stay tuned.
yes, we're so glad that you guys joined us on our podcast today, and we hope that you tune into the next episode, and we'll talk to you later then.
Yeah, we'll speak to you guys later. Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye.